then you don't have to pay anything. So with hybrid or vanity, you do have to pay something. But with vanity, they're not vetting you out. So they will publish anybody. So that's why you want to make sure you're dealing with a hybrid company, and I'm going to talk to you about hybrid right now. So what happened to me is that I wanted to first try to get with a big five company. So I learned how to write a query, I learned how to write a hook and to put a book proposal together, I learned how to talk to agents and that sort of thing. But it's still, even if you do all the right things, it's quite possible that you're not going to get picked because they're just too busy. They have too many book proposals to look through. They just can't get to yours. And it's just a numbers game. You have to keep trying, or you give up or do it a different way. So I gave myself a deadline. So back in, I would say October, I was just about done with everything in October and getting the editing done, and I decided I really want to have my book released in February of 2019. That's what was in my envisioning of where I wanted to be. It was going to happen. And so by October, since I had not been selected yet, I had gotten a lot of rejections. I probably got 30. So I did the work I did the due diligence to try to get my book published. And I got really good feedback. This book is something that people are already writing. Detoxing is something that's already been done, that sort of thing. And they enjoyed the book cover, but they felt like the content was something that's already out there. So those are some of the reasons why I wasn't picked. But I decided, okay, I have something that I think is very valuable, and my unique vantage point on it, I think, is something that's valuable. So because I still wanted to make sure this happened by February, I went with the hybrid company. I went with the hybrid part of Hay House. Have you heard of Hay House? Mm-hmm. Hay House, it was founded by Louise Hay in 1984. She wrote a lot of books that have to do with mind, body, psychological things, vibration, understanding how the mind and body works. Heal Thyself is one of the big things that she wrote. You have authors like Dr. Joe Dispenza. You have Deepak Chopra that has written some things under that particular publisher. And there are a couple of others that are not coming to me right away. But I really enjoyed the books that I read from that publisher, and I wanted to be associated and aligned with them. And I also found out from my research that when you publish through their hybrid press, that if your book does well and it gets some hype, Hay House will take it on and it will push it out there. So I felt like it was a good decision for me. I had some savings, and so I did what was necessary to be able to get my book published by them. Now, I had already done my homework. The editing, which I'm going to talk about at some point soon, the editing was already done. I hired somebody to do my editing. I am already a pretty good writer, so there was not a whole lot that had to be done. I hired someone to do my book cover design, and I'm going to talk to you later about where it started off and where it wound up. But so when I paid for my services from Balboa Press, they had to take some things off because I had already done a lot of the things. I had my own website already too. That's one of the services they offered a la carte. They build your website, they do some editing for you, they do your book cover design, they do a PR, they do press release, all that sort of thing. One of the things I did was I told them, I said, since I already have my author website and that was something you were going to give me, can we switch that out with a press release? So they did a press release instead of the author website. So you can negotiate with them in order to get the type of services that are just right for you. This is why I like the hybrid option. Okay. The other thing is that the hybrid option has to pay a higher royalty than that of the standard traditional publisher rates. Why? Well, they have to pay you more because they're not paying you in advance. So you're doing a lot of the work, so they're not going to give you an advance, so that is why you get more of the royalty. Again, with a hybrid option or as an independent author, you get more royalty. But if you go with trade, you're going to get less because they pay you in advance. Right? All right, so some of the current trends. We just talked about hybrid. One of the biggest trends right now is hybrid publishers. It went up 25% as of last year. A lot of people are understanding this service and understanding that it is something that is right between indie and trade, and you can get some really, really good quality things done through them. Another trend is that the big 5 trade publishers are trending down in ebook sales. So in 2014, they were 40% of all total units sold. 40% of all ebooks sold was through big 5 trade publishers. In 2016, it went down to 23%. In 2018, down to 16%. So that is trending down. So if you're an independent publisher or if you were hybrid publishing, you are becoming more and more of the percentage of ebooks.
Why is it going down for the major companies?
It's going down because it's easier for us to upload an ebook.
Oh, so you don't need them to do it?
You don't need anybody.
Because you can go to Amazon yourself.
Yes. Yes, you can do it yourself. Okay, what else is trending? Audiobooks are trending up. Audiobooks, and hopefully that's not a big surprise to you, but for me, I used to read a whole lot of books sitting down in a corner, in the chair. But now, because I'm an entrepreneur and I'm going out on meetings and I'm meeting people in appointments, I am in my car driving and listening to 10 books a month. I am well read now compared to what I used to be. And that's because Audible, and that's why it's going up so much. And this is only going to continue to trend up.
Are you going to put yours in that?
That is what I want to do by the end of the year.
Are you going to read it yourself or have pay someone?
I'm going to read it myself. Because it costs money. It costs money. It's extra money to hire a narrator. And I've been told that, I have an okay voice. So I might be able to get away with reading my own.
Authors should always read their own work because they're the only ones who get it.
Yeah, I've heard some audibles and they don't pronounce the words right and that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, the other argument is that there are people that have been doing it for a long time and do a great job of narrating. I've listened to some books. I'm like, I would like him to do mine. Sometimes they're really, really good at what they do, but other times you can tell that this person is probably the author, and they tried to save money, and maybe they should have gotten somebody else to do it. So I hope that's not me, but I'm certainly going to narrate. I plan to narrate my own book. Now, there are 2 different platforms when you want to upload your book as an audio file. There's acx.com, and they will automatically put your book on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes. Those are the 3 places that your book will go. The other one is Findaway Voices. And I didn't know anything about this, and I'm so happy I found out about them. Because they do the same service, but your book is going to be uploaded to hundreds of different audio file platforms all over the world. You will automatically be on Amazon, iTunes, and Audible, and also Google, and Rakuten, and Storytel, and Overdrive, and Nook, and all those different places. So this is what I'm going to use later on in the year. Say again?
What's it called?
Findaway Voices. So findaway.com.
Findaway.
And this information, I have all of the URLs for you and all of this information in another handout that you'll take with you. So I'm making sure you have all this information. Okay? Okay, now that we've discussed current trends, let's talk about some of the myths in book publishing. Oh, we're doing, that's not bad at all. All right. True or false? You will make a lot of money.
Both. It's in between. It depends.
In between.
So typically,
It depends.
Unless you're Stephen King, false.
typically a trade author will barely make minimum wage. And I say trade because they make a lot of money. When you get an advance, that is a lot up front. So you get that advance, and then obviously you wait until your royalties match the advance, and then you start getting royalties after that. But it winds up being like $15 an hour. So if you are writing a book to get rich, stop right now. Stop the presses. That's not how it works. That's not how this works. Once you write a book, you're done. All you need to do is sell.
False.
Uh-oh, somebody knew the answer to that. False. False. Marketing is not something the trade or hybrid publisher will do for you. So you have to do that. Right? When you write a book and you copyright it, it is yours.
False.
Right. So a trade author signs over the rights to the manuscript in exchange for the advance. You don't have the rights. Now, obviously, if you're independent or an indie author, even with a hybrid publisher, it's still yours. And definitely take your time to look at the contract. Make sure you look at the contract. Trade publishers do all the work.
False.
It's almost true, but it's false. They do everything except market. They do a lot. They do a
They
lot.
send it back to you and say, you need to take this out and move that and change this and, change that voice. They tell you how to change your book.
Honestly, they do all of that. They may get your opinion on what do you think of this, but they do it all because it's theirs now. Trade publishers, they basically bought it from you. So they're going to change it around. They're going to do everything they need to do for it to sell. Anybody can publish a book. And I went ahead and put true there because of indie publishing, and also if you go through a vanity press that you think is reputable. They fool you into thinking they're reputable, and the truth is that they're accepting everybody's submission because they don't make their money on royalties. What do they make their money on? They make their money on you paying them to publish you, really doing things that you can do. So, and it's also false because if you go through a trade or a hybrid publisher, your manuscript may not be accepted. People are not buying books anymore.
False.
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 That is false.
Buying more books than ever.
People are still buying books, and it's increasing a little bit every year. It's not going down. Audible or audiobooks are no longer popular.
So
That's the
false.
thing. Right. There's been a consistently positive trend for the past 5 years. One-hit wonders never make a name for themselves.
False. Super sorry.
Who's saying false and why? What do you know?
I said false because I related it to music and
Okay. Well, it is false. It is false. There are some examples of authors that have not written second books, but they're famous for just one. Catcher in the Rye. Misspelling there. Somebody's rushing. Catcher in the Rye, written by J.D. Salinger. That's the only book he wrote, and that's all he needed. That's all he wrote. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. That's all she had to write. And there are like probably 10 to 17 more of those examples like that. Are really awesome books that we've heard of, and that's all that author wrote.
do you know how to get a book accepted by school systems?
Yes.
How do you do that?
That's not in the scope of this one. We can talk one-on-one
Okay.
on that. You can set up an appointment, and I'll talk about that at the end.
Okay.
There's so much that I'm not covering that I would like to cover at a different time or one-on-one. There's no need for authors to become skillful at social media. Right? Okay, you remember it. So now that you understand how the method to my madness, by the end of this, you're going to know so many things. Because I mess with your brains. Okay? Okay, so costs. Right? So these are the costs associated with independently publishing books in these genres. All right? So I don't know if you can see this, so I'm going to read it. So romance, it's average about a little over $4,000. Thriller, mystery, and crime, basically the same. Science fiction, a little bit more than that. Fantasy, the same. Young adult, so you see there's a trend there. And then literary fiction, there's more. Memoirs, more. And the most is what I did, self-help. Costs a little bit more money. So the costs associated with this have to do with editing, a lot of editing. It has to do with your book cover design and paying the graphic designer for any of the interior photos and things like that too, the back cover. It also entails social media, paying someone to do the social media or doing it yourself. Now, all of this you can do yourself as an independent publisher. You can do the whole thing yourself. If you have that kind of time in your hands, go ahead and do it. I just didn't have the time. I have the aptitude to learn it and do it, but then what else am I not going to get done? So I went with the hybrid publisher who did a lot of that stuff for me. Or hired somebody like my own professional designer to do the book cover and such. Now, this is where I'm going to share some of my personal information about my process of getting through the book cover design. When I first had an idea of the book cover design I wanted, I went to Fiverr.com. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
Fiverr.com. And basically, say that again?
F-I-V-E-R?
Yeah.
Fiverr.com. And just overall, let you know right now, it costs about $600 or so to get your book cover designed by a professional designer at this time. And that is with all other revisions and iterations. It cost me about $600, so this was right. I spent about $25 on Fiverr.com to get someone to put together something that I kind of drew it up myself, and they took the vision of that, and they created this cover for me. Don't laugh. I thought that was awesome. I thought it was so clever. Detox your circle. Look at all these elements that help you detox. I was going to reel in those people who were into detoxing based on the food they eat, and I was going to, trick them into read my book. So, so I was part and still am part of a book publishing group, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that coming up. And I was able to share with them my ideas for my book cover, and they were honest, and they said, that's clever, but that's a cookbook. So you got to be open to get feedback from people, and people that are in your industry that are already doing what you want to do, are average people who just might read the book. Get that feedback. Don't take it to heart, because if you ask for feedback, that means you want it, and be open to the feedback you receive. I feel like you want to answer the question.
I'm assuming this book then is about the people, the circles, the people you associate with?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm smarter than I thought I was.
So, now I'm going to show you, after I hired a professional designer, the first 3 iterations he gave. He gave me 3 at a time to look at. This is a very interesting experience for me. So, I got that, and at the same time, I got this and this. So, I was like, that's a lot of red, but it's really nice, it looks really good, but it's not quite the genre. It doesn't reflect the genre that I'm in. What genre does this look like to you?
Murder mysteries.
Murder mysteries or thrillers, right? But it's well done. It's nice. It makes you want to pick it up. But once you pick it up and start reading it, you're going to be like, oh, this is not about what I thought it was about. So it's almost like this again, but it just looks better. So I got some feedback, and yes, sir.
Can you just describe your book to them, your mindset?
That's what I did.
And let them create the whole thing?
That's exactly what I did. Yeah, you are smart. That's what I did. And so, but I gave him feedback on this red. And I told him, you know what, I feel like blue. I feel like we need to get some blue in there. And if we can make it blue and then maybe a splash of red somewhere, I think it would be nice. And so this is what he sent me back. So it's blue, you can't see it, but the X here in toxic is like red flags like this. I thought that was clever. But it's still a little busy down there, and I told him, I said, well, let's do something else. Like maybe let's make the X red or something like that. So he did that, but he also made this red, and I was like, I like it, but I think the red down there is just not quite right. Let's get rid of the red.
How many revisions do they allow you to do?
Well, I paid him $600 to.
So you have unlimited revisions, because that's a lot of money, so I was just curious.
Yeah. So, you know what, I got someone really good, and I don't really give his name out that much, because I want to make sure I can get him, but if we talk and you need a graphic designer, I'll share him. But this is what I wound up with at the very end. I'm very happy with it. Every time I look at it, it makes me feel good. Because when I look at it, it looks like something, I'm like, what is this about? That's a nice cover. I mean, that's how I feel about it. So this is actually my book, and this is what was published in. Yeah, I'm excited. Okay, so let's talk about the types of editing. This is going to be where you're going to spend most of your money in editing. Okay, so there's the editorial assessment. So the editorial assessment is when you hire an editor, and what they do is they go through your whole work and they give you some feedback, sort of a diagnostic and assessment of this is what I see in terms of the tone, this is what I see in terms of the organization of your manuscript. These are some of the issues I see with your style, word choice. They really give you a good, well-rounded amount of feedback. And you can decide from there as to whether or not you want them to be your editor, or whether or not their assessment is good enough. It's up to you. But based on the assessment I got from my guy, I decided to continue to go with him. Okay? Now, the developmental edit, and if there's anybody in here who knows stuff about this besides me, feel free to chime in. I don't mind it one bit. But the developmental edit is a lot more intense and a lot more in-depth. It is one in which they are actually going to make the changes. They don't actually change them all the way, but they're going to mark it up in Word or whatever word processor you're using, and you can see the difference from what they're recommending that you do to change it and what you had there. You can see the difference and see how it reads better. But basically, it is all the things I said before, but it's implemented. So changes like, for instance, the 3 paragraphs at the end of chapter 5 seem like they really should be at the beginning or in the middle, things like that. Your word choice, your syntax, whether or not you're making good choices when it comes to style. It's going to be a lot of things like that. It's a very deep, intense edit. Copy or line edit really has to do with grammar. It has to do with typos. It has to do with more superficial things, but not really things that have to do with organization. Yes?
So just to clarify, you do all of those different kinds of edits? Okay.
Yes.
Does developmental consider your specialty of your subject? Like, is that like developmental?
Yes, so an editor, there are editors that only do this.
Oh,
And there are some editors that only do this, and there are other editors that do all of it.
Is the order you have on the screen the suggested
Yes,
order?
that's the order it goes in.
Okay.
Yes.
Ernest, and I think this makes sense what you just said. Not every editor should edit every kind of book. I mean, obviously, you went with someone who understood self-help books.
That's
But
correct.
if you're writing a murder mystery, you don't want someone who understands self-help
Correct.
books. You want someone who understands a murder mystery.
Correct. And so
Okay.
when you are vetting out your editor, you want to know what their credentials are. You want to know some of the books they've already edited, whether or not those books are successful. You want to maybe have some references. You want to have a conversation with them where you get a really good feel for what they're good at. And they should be able to let you know which genre they work in. And if they say, well, it doesn't matter the genre, you're not that experienced, right? Yes.
I had a person I met with last week, and she told me her editing would be 3 cents a word. Does that mean she's figuring all that in?
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry. Say
She
that.
said she charged 3 cents a word per word. I'm saying, would that mean that includes all that?
You don't know. You have to ask her, what do you mean? 3 cents a word for what? What kind of editing? And if she doesn't know, she may be good at one of these, but you don't know which one. She needs to know what kind of editing she's charging you for.
Well, 3 cents a word, I was thinking that would include all that, but that's.
It sounds like it's just like
No,
fast copy.
no. She's looking at more like a line edit.
Yeah, maybe line edit, but again, I wouldn't guess. Your book it takes too much work, and you want to make sure everything is right. Ask the questions. Make sure you do your due diligence. Last but not least, once all of this is done, did you have a question? Okay, once all of this is done, then you get the proofread. Now, don't laugh at me, but I did not know that the word proof, that when you get your manuscript back from the press, the print, and it says proof, I didn't know that's where proofread comes from. Does everybody know what I'm talking about?
It was an actual proofs that they was going to use the print with.
So what happens is that before your manuscript goes to print, you have one last time to do a proofread. So when someone is proofreading your paper, that is a term that came from publishing. And so these are all done, and then the publisher gives you your manuscript, and in the watermark it says proof. Every page it says proof. And so the last thing you do is check that proof. You proofread to make sure there are no typos, no extraneous mistakes, things that just were left off during your copy or line edit. This is the opportunity to make sure it's fixed before it's printed, because once it's printed, that's it. And how many times have you been reading a book and you're like, this is like not edited?
Yeah.
It's edited. They just didn't. Someone didn't do a great job proofing. That's all. So
Indie publishing books.
yeah, that happens. So that's what I learned. So I want to talk to you about. We still have some time. We're still doing good. I want to talk to you about making sure you leverage your resource before hiring an editor. So I was lucky enough to find this group on meetup.com. It is called the Central Phoenix Writing Workshop. And they meet on Sundays, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays. And at the time that I needed the editing services, it was a Sunday, so I went on Sundays. And if you've never heard of this, what you do is a couple of hours before it happens, you send them the number of pages that they allow to be edited. So for my group, it was up to 5 pages. You send that in beforehand, so the people that are in charge of the table you're going to be at, they're going to assign everybody to different tables, because each table had a different genre. And so you would get there, and you would have your copy with you, but your copy was also sent out earlier, so everybody else has a copy. And so what's happening is that you get a turn to read your 5 pages. As you're reading your 5 pages, everybody else has a copy, and they're going through with their edits. So they're editing your paper for free. And then everybody gets a chance to read their paper while everybody else edits it. And so at the end of it, you have 6 different edits from people who have experience in the field, who've already published before, who really are amazing at editing. I mean, I could not believe how good these people were at editing. And then I got a chance to get better and better at editing because I gave them feedback too. So 6 months of doing this, my manuscript is like really nice. But guess what? I still hired a professional editor. I didn't have to pay as much money as I would have otherwise, but I had already used leveraged free resources to be able to have an excellently edited manuscript. Yes?
So you didn't have to pay as much only because they found less stuff to edit? Is that how that works?
Correct.
Okay.
What was the name of that group again? Central Phoenix.
Central Phoenix Writing Workshop. There it is again. And you already have it. You're going to have it. I'm going to pass this out and you're going to have it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
Did you say you pay them $25, so when you go every day?
No, I didn't say that. I didn't know that. It's free. It's a meetup. So the meetup is every Sunday. We're talking about the meetup right now?
Yeah, I thought you said it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
No, so they offer, the Central Phoenix Writers Workshop has different days. So there are different clubs. There's a Sunday club, there's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday club. So it's all under the umbrella of Central Phoenix.
Does it matter which one you go to then?
No, you just go to whatever one works for your schedule. For me, Sunday worked. But it's free. You don't pay anything.
So you go and you say you take 5 chapters?
No, 5 pages.
5 pages, huh?
And you have to send it to them.
That's okay,
I
5
knew
pages.
that.
5 pages. Sometimes it's fewer pages than that, sometimes it's more. But it's amazing. It's just amazing.
So you broke it up, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So then, did you broke it up in 5-page increments and will go periodically? Okay.
How many pages in your book?
162, something like that.
It'll take you 6 months?
Is it worth it? It's free?
It's free. And I learned a lot. Did you have a question?
Yes, actually, I know a lot of people who, when they are doing like their first or second draft, they'll use people in their circle for continuity, reading, that type of thing. Did you do that?
In my circle, meaning people that
Your
are
friends,
good at...
family, that type of thing. Did you?
Friends, family, no. I did professionals, and I did people in these writing workshops that were interested in what I was interested in. So their level was where I was. Like I don't trust family and friends to edit my work.
Well, no, this wasn't like for editing so much as it was like a continuity read. You know, like you read.
Okay, so
like you
I
read
did
one-
that, at the end of all of this. Because I wanted to get their feedback on, do you like this? Is this content relevant right now? Is this a book that you would want to buy? So I had about 5 people read my manuscript when the editing was done for content and whether or not it was relevant. So I did that, and they just recently returned the manuscript.
So it's kind of hard to find people because they say they're gonna read it and they don't. So you gotta find the right people that are replying.
That's right. That's why I just used these. All right, so let's see if we can move through. We're not quite done. The editor that I hired, I found him on Upwork.com, and he actually was somebody that was from my alma mater. So it really worked out well. We had a great rapport. Okay, marketing assistance. This is another gift. Okay, Phoenix Publishing and book promotion. This lady, Laura Orsini, is an expert. She's a genius at marketing and promotion of books. She will give you so many ideas on how to promote your book and how to market it. It's amazing. So I'm
Talks
gonna.
fast and she's very enthusiastic. That's who I was with last week.
Yeah. So
She's
you
a
know.
former Toastmaster.
Okay, there you know her. She's amazing at this. I just wanted to share that with you. Now, ISBNs, maybe you already know what those are, but it's one of those things for people that are independently publishing. You need to know what an ISBN number is. It's a 13-digit number. It's a unique identifier for books. It stands for International Standard Book Number. In America, you get them through myidentifiers.com. And in the UK, if you happen to be there when you're writing your book, you get it from NielsenISBNstore.com. They're $125 each. If you're going to be publishing more than one book, you might want to buy maybe 5 or 10 of them, so you save money. Okay, so this is a nifty idea of mine that I haven't told a lot of people. Okay. One of the ways that I was able to get my book finished so quickly is that when I had it organized, and I had each chapter outlined and I knew basically what I was going to say, I made videos. I got on YouTube and I talked about each chapter at a time. I just basically kind of did a free fall on video about the topic from a particular chapter. Took 15 minutes, 20 minutes, but I had it there. And after about, I guess, a month and a half, my whole book was on YouTube. It's still there. And so I hired someone to transcribe the video. And then I had all the words on the page, and I got someone to kind of like put it all together and make it more literary. And then from there, I began to write it and get an editor. So that's how I did it, and it just cut down the time so fast. So if you want to write a book and you just need to get your ideas out there, just get it out there. That's what I did, and it worked for me